United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and Nikki is not here for roll call. Mr. Morgan, would you please do roll call?
I would love it.
Thank you.
Gregory Stremka. Darcy, formerly Stremka, Cody.
Here.
Danielle.
Here.
Eric is here. Jeff. April.
Here.
Boom.
It's not.
Nikki's not here.
Okay, thank you. Tonight we are having a discussion related to facilities. The board will not be voting on anything this evening. This is information gathering for us as a board. And we will start this evening with hearing from each of the coaches that are here and would like to speak. We did receive from Mariah, and that's in the packet, the list from each of the coaches. Since I know some of you, you'll get 5 minutes each. So try to keep it brief so we're not here all night. So try to hit the highlights on the, you see the prioritization order. So health and safety, regulatory and district policy, and equity. So if there's things that you can pull out of your list that hit those, maybe spend a little bit more time on those. And otherwise, we definitely have copies of your list so you can see them. So try to limit to 5 minutes. I won't set a timer, but and then just for full transparency, some of us on the board are also on boosters for certain sports. So myself, I'm on softball boosters, so I just want to get that out there.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, the camera got it.
Danielle,
Yeah, the camera
football
was
boosters.
It doesn't camera center? Yeah.
Transparent.
Like there's nails under your hair.
Eric really likes hockey.
There's nails.
And then once we hear from the coaches, we will hear about the school building facility needs. There was a review done by Apex, which is a consulting company, and they came up with a list as well. Then we'll review
Not real.
the new marketing policy that makes it possible for you to get sponsor money from other places. And then we'll discuss next steps.
Hey, hey, please be quiet, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Martin. We'll talk about the funding opportunities that you can use under the marketing policy, and then next steps. I'm sure all of you want to hear when do you make a decision, when will I know what's going to get funded and what's not. So we'll talk about next steps. Any questions or comments? Board? Anyone else? Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll go in order of what's in the packet. I believe. So, we're first.
Thank you for all this. I'm going to talk about.
Oh, yeah, okay. Alright, summarize first.
Oh,
Yeah.
So let's give a brief kind of summary of what has happened in the last couple weeks. Basically, the email was sent to all the coaches, all the programs, all the head coaches, stating that we're looking for areas of improvement with our facilities. I asked all of the coaches to send me a list, highest priority being first, and to put that together and get it to me by the 25th of January. These four sent me back a prioritized list. Some did not send me a list. One was not pertinent to any of the facilities whatsoever. So then I asked these guys to come and present for the board what they would like to see improved in regards to their specifics. That's the gist of it.
together is, as a district, one of the things we've been lacking is a long-range facilities maintenance program and replacement schedules and things like that. So Uriah, Pat, Beth, and myself have been working on establishing those, so we know if we replace something, what's the lifespan of that? Because that's how we got to the point right now with facilities where we have a whole bunch of rooftop units and interior units and chillers that are out of lifespan. Because we didn't look at replacing along the way. So this is gonna kind of all come together, so, and that's part of the next steps, is how do we phase this in and what do we move forward with as we can.
Why don't coaches, as you're up, why don't you come sit at this empty spot so the mic picks up what you're saying for the recording? Yeah. Just the recording doesn't pick up what you're saying for the people that can't make it.
We can come up front, whatever, but we hear something.
It's on now.
I didn't start your time yet, so.
Please, start.
All right, I'll be brief. If anyone does know me, I'm Eric Keesaw. I'll be the new varsity softball coach this year. I put together a list everybody can read here. Going from the top, dugout roofs. Those are something that we've discovered. Both dugouts had leaks in them as we had water in the dugouts last spring. Those, to my understanding, have been approved and are going to get paid for. Completed again this spring, I'm hoping, before the season starts. So we move on from that one. The lights will be the next one. That's something that we've been talking about for, I think, ever since I've been involved with the softball program at the youth level, trying to get lights on the field down there. It's this most spendy item on the list also, so I don't know where that's gonna end up falling the priority, but I know a lot of people would love that to happen, so that's why that's a number 2 there. I did mention the Title IX issue. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but I know baseball has them.
I can
So-
address it after you're done.
Okay, all right. The next one that we had up there is something that the Booster Club has looked into doing. So I don't know if we need the school funds directly for it, but it's to repair that left field bullpen area. We feel that'll, dress up that area a little bit since we have the new, Lindbergh Memorial out there as well. So we want that looking nice out there in the left field corner. And then maybe tie that into the bleachers, which is the next one. Put a set of bleachers out there next to the batting cage between the flagpole and the bleachers. And then the seating area behind home plate. We were chasing down bleachers, I know at the start of the season last year at our first game, trying to have seating options for the fans. So what I'd really like to do is put 3 sets around there to create like a stadium approach. It doesn't have to be big. It could be 2 or 3 on each side, 5 behind the backstop, 5 rows of bleachers is what I'm saying. And then along with that, to improve the viewing options for the fans, we have chain link back there right now, which has bars running across it, sight lines are interfered with. If some of you have been to some of the nicer facilities around here, they have netting now behind home plate, and they have the tall like flag poles or telephone poles supporting that, so it looks like you're looking through glass almost to see the field. It's much improved if we could go that route. Cost on that might be an issue, but that could be a long-range plan as well. A simple fix, I think, is a Wi-Fi access. If we can just get a booster out there or something, try to pull that from the school building so we can run our game changers, so we can film the games and have those shown on Facebook or on the school's YouTube channel. Number 6 would be the handicap restrooms. That's something, not the handicap alone, but running water restrooms, along with getting running water to the concession area out there, which allows us to do different things in the concession area. Make that more attractive also. And then just some general repairs to the field. The foul line fencing is in need of repair, because over the years people have done soft toss into it and things like that, and it's blowing out at the bottom. So we either have to take it off, re-roll it, put it back up, or get new. and then regrading the infield. It needs some fill, there's a few low spots, so a couple trucks that fill will probably fix that problem. And then there's a little dip in the left field, outfield also that we could have, refilled also. As far as your priorities, how much time I got left here? Is that a minute? Okay. The priorities on there, health and safety. I don't know how many of those actually fit to health and safety, but from a regulatory standpoint, I know the bullpen probably needs to be fixed this year because the state passed a new rule this year that you can't warm up your pitchers on the infield when the other team's taking their infield. If that makes sense to people. So normally in foul territory, they do that, so we're gonna have a functional bullpen, so to speak, for our pitcher and the other team's pitchers to warm up in prior to the game. So that one might have to move up to maybe number 2, so it probably needs to get done. And then from a compliance, or equity standpoint, we'd be looking at the lights there and as well as the bleachers to some degree. Having them, I don't know necessarily to the standard of what baseball has with the cover and all of that, but safety could be an issue there too with a foul ball going up over the backstop and landing and hitting someone that might not be paying attention. I don't know if that is an issue. It was brought to my attention though that people have gotten hit before, but I think you assume some risk also if you sit in that spot, so. All right, any questions? Are we not doing that?
No, the board, if does any of the members of the board have questions for Eric?
What's the cost of the netting? Would that be expensive?
The netting of the backstop?
Yeah, we would take down the backstop.
Yeah, and then you probably have to put in cement to put the poles in. It's probably an $80,000 to $100,000 project, I'm guessing.
And how often do you have to replace the netting?
I would assume it's good for a number of years.
I think
5
it
to
comes
10
down
years.
every year, Jeff.
Does it?
They do, gotcha.
That
So
way,
they take that
yeah,
down.
that little K in that same.
I would
That
imagine
way
it
it
would
doesn't
come
take
down
the harsh
every year,
winter.
but it would be, end of season, so then it would be, is that gonna be used all season long for sports other than, or for teams other than school teams? And how does
It'd
that,
probably be used through the summer with
how
the
does that,
bleaching
there'd
program, I
be
would guess, yeah.
pieces that we'd have to look into about that, because if it's damaged when it's up during that time, is it our liability or not?
Versus what you got now is gonna last for a while, correct? So this might not be a high priority as far as.
Like I said, from a safety standpoint, I don't think it has to be, it'd be the roof would be the safety or some sort of netting over the top of the fan area would be the safety issue, I think, that comes into play. The existing chain link stops a ball, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, a foul ball going straight back, it stops that. It's just the aesthetics of it, and then the viewing sight lines for the fans behind home plate would be greatly. And just the general appearance of the facility. I mean, if you go to a facility that has one of those, you know you're there. I mean, it looks and your experience is better as a fan than if you sit behind a chain link fence trying to look through that. Because if you look at an angle now, all of a sudden, I mean, you don't have a clear sight line.
I have a question.
Yeah.
With the 3 sets of bleachers, I know historically girls' sports are not as well attended in our district. I have not been to a softball game. Do we fill what we have now?
Yes.
Okay.
And then people sit in lawn chairs down the sideline. I say yes because we have one small set of bleachers right now
Oh, okay.
that I think we share with soccer.
Well, they come
That was
from,
gonna
they
say
come from all of our
soccer.
fields.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I mean, we rotate around.
We
but
rotate,
yeah.
we rotate. In
Right.
fact, they used to be in a hockey rink when I was started.
And that could be a joint expenditure too.
Yeah, but then, we don't know how safe those are, if they're even,
Compliant.
sorry, can I talk?
Oh, yeah.
If they're even compliant, I don't know, I'm not sure, I mean, heck, when I started, they were compliant, but I don't know if they are now.
So do you have an estimate of what those 3 bleachers will cost?
It depends on the size you go. You
So
can
an
start,
idea?
on the low end, if you went like 2 or 3 bleachers on, rows on each side, and then like a 5 in the back, that would be the smallest I would suggest. You're probably looking at $25,000 to $30,000 at minimum, and it depends if you put the cage around, like the ones at Avnet that the city put in the last couple of years, and you put the safety cage around it, and then the railing up the middle, like with the divided stairway, in the middle of it. I mean, you keep adding bells and whistles to it, it goes up. So, I mean, you could spend $80,000 to $100,000 if you wanted to. But I
That
think you
even
could,
seems cheap to me, but,
no, I
well,
think
could
that you
you find out, or?
I'd give you exact numbers on what I'm thinking, as well as, I have to know what you're willing to do, but I can give you a range.
So for that, that will be covered in next steps. Because what we'll be looking at now is we're prioritizing, we're informing the board, we're making sure you know what's going on, we've got clear communication between these two. And then Uriah will work with individual coaches to go through and find out what does this look like, what is it, and then we will get bids from vendors through Uriah.
Okay.
Because if we can clump things together, if we need bleachers for this, and this, or if we need 2 press boxes, and we can go from the same vendor, we can probably get a better discount.
And that's what I was gonna add too, is the set of bleachers, maybe all 3 of them, but certainly 1 or 2 or 3 of them, like soccer and softball, could share those. Because we're opposite seasons, fall and spring, so we could move them from facility to facility. I mean, baseball, softball, we're reaching out here, but
Have you, looked into getting other donations from like the Legion, since the Legion Ball does?
Legion we do have $3,000 in our booster account that has been given to us by the Legion, and it is eartag for field improvements. And I think we've spent a couple hundred of it already for some of the lumber that we did when we were repainting the dugouts. And then we're putting in a new, garage door on the one dugout, and then the rest, my thought was we would spend it on that outfield, bullpen, to make sure that's up to compliance.
Okay, so they have contributed some. They have contributed some?
They have, and I mean, we're expecting, they help support our Legion programs. So we'll put the money back in, both of our booster clubs, I'll speak for baseball also. Our hope is to help keep things up, so like you're concerned maybe about the, wear and tear maybe that the Legion program would put on it, would be offset there by contributing to some of the upkeep.
Okay, any additional questions from the board? Anybody, do you want to speak to the Title IX?
I'll speak to the Title IX piece. Specifically with the lights, Title IX does not come into play, because Title IX would only come into play if we were doing night games during the school season. But because we're not doing night games really for either baseball or softball, that doesn't come into play, because the district is not held to be compliant to Title IX for Legion sports or summer sports or any of those other pieces. Where we are looking at what Title IX might hit would be looking at some of the bleachers. You know, that is definitely something where I would consider it a Title IX piece, because we don't have adequate seating there for those pieces. So we just need, we need to take a look at some of that. I would also probably classify, I don't know how bad it is, but the outfield, if there are divots or gopher holes or any of that in there, we definitely have to put that out, because that does hit health
I
and
got some
safety.
dirt for you.
You know?
It's like a trench, but it's grassed over, but you're running, all of a sudden you're like a dip out
And
there.
so that would be something we just need to take a look at, because that could be unfortunately, I had the experience on a practice football field up in Red Lake, that a kid hit a gopher hole with his foot and broke his hip. And so, it happens, so those would be things, that we would have to look at there. Okay?
Carol, anything to add? This one? No? All right, let's keep moving along. Coach Donovan.
All right, I'm Terry Donovan. Hey, thanks for having us here, first of all. I think on behalf of all of us coaches, this is kind of cool that we get included in some of the planning here. It really is kind of, I'm honored to be here for it, and be part of our team, which I think is great here. So thank you very much for having us. So I'm gonna start, the first one is actually one Uriah left off my list. But it would be a quick one. It would fall under equity. It would be turf. We have the best grass facilities, and Pat's guys do the best that there is all around, but when Uriah asked about a dream thing, if we had turf, I just speak from experience where we had it at KM where I was, and we put it in 11, and it's getting replaced in 26, so it's 15 years. And April can speak to people who are on that thing all the time. People are over there doing stuff on it all the time. Softball could use it in the spring when it's really, wet to get going. We give, soccer, and the girls and boys soccer program and us would share it for practices, plus we have the great practice facilities and JV teams. It could be something that could be a big jewel, and I know that it's harder and harder to get manpower to, and somehow Pat's crew does the best job of anybody in our area. So I almost hate to say it, because Bud Turf would be, I think, an equity thing down the road if it was somebody. I doubt if the money's in this thing for that. Okay, so the next one would fall under safety. And that's our press box. Our press box is pretty old. And anybody that's climbed up into the back steps, it's treacherous, right? I mean, anybody can speak to that. And it really is something. This would be a safety issue that needs upgrading. If we had the whole thing, and I don't have prices on this, because he just asked a list, but the nice thing would be probably to tear it down and put a longer one right up at the top of the bleachers. So it doesn't have to sit up as high as the thing is now. You could use some of the frame and maybe make it a 2-story one if you didn't want to get it any wider, and just go like right at the top of the bleachers and above, or just make it wider. And that's, they're pretty common now of doing that along the back. So that would be something I think would fall under a safety. We're getting more with YouTube and everything else broadcast, so it gives us a little bit more equity to have something nice there to broadcast the games, which I think would be a great thing. And then other consideration, I think every school could use it for there, so I think that would be a great thing to be able to have. The next one I would put under equity probably would also fall with the bleachers. So if we skip, the real goalpost would be what I have here. So right now we have just an old-fashioned H goalpost. They hook the soccer nets to it. Regulatory, we're fine with what that is. Safety-wise, if you get one of the gooseneck goalposts, it takes the back of the goalpost out of the back of the end zone, not right on the end zone, so you have one of them instead of two of them. So there could be a safety thing. Am I gonna say that's a huge safety priority? Probably not really a huge one, but it would be something that would be, as we're upgrading our facilities, to get the goalposts that almost everybody else has now, I think would be a great thing to have. And then the play clock on there, I have, there's the goalpost. So that's what they would look like. Then obviously, if we did that, we would have to get soccer nets, like regular.
And you might wanna mention that the ones we have now are
Well, you'll get to talk.
no, I didn't.
Okay, well, and so, and like JP's talking about, like their nets are getting to where they're gonna need to be replaced anyway. Okay. The next one.
You'd have to have a whole structure then, not.
Yeah, it's its own piece, right?
Yeah.
And that
They roll around.
And that rolls in and out, and does
Yeah.
that have any issue with the turf?
No.
They roll better on turf.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
not
but
the
grass.
turf, the grass.
I thought she was
Yeah.
approving that.
That's your
Well,
favorite.
it would sit technically out of the end zone. The front, the base of it would sit, because the goalpost is, a soccer field's a little longer than the football. Where does that fall? The goal line, is it just inside the back of the end zone?
Well, you can, again, my own case.
Yeah.
You can have your soccer field. Soccer field is more, it's not like a football field where it has to be on the ground. Okay, it could be a little shorter, so we could just put it right underneath the base, so it fits right underneath the Y of the goalpost. And then we would do our markings from there, our soccer markings from there. So a soccer field isn't, it's suggested should be like 110. Right?
And really, it'll give you a bigger net, because I think a soccer net is technically wider than a goalpost.
We'll need that since we're being squares for football.
So just to confirm, so you're not opposed, Vicky, to having separate,
No,
so not keeping
No.
them as one?
no, that's okay.
Okay.
I'm
Alright,
fine.
keep going, Trey.
Yep. The number 3 on there is a play clock in each end zone. This would fall under regulatory. Eventually, every school's gonna have this as they run the 40-second clock, just like college or NFL. So if you have them in the end zones, And these, I think, are about $3,000 or something a piece, if I remember, something like that. But I didn't get a good bid on that, but these are ones that regulatory would call. And then the other one that I put on was, this is more of it as we're looking for what I think would be a cool game day atmosphere. And Pat can probably make this work right now. We just kind of got a late start on things. Is bleachers in the end zone. Whether they were permanent or if we get some of them are on wheels, where on a trailer might be even the easiest that could accommodate everybody. Yeah. So that might be one that would be easy to do. And that I thought would be a great spot for our student section to sit. So when our guys score, they can celebrate down at the student section right at the end. I think would be a really cool thing. And then, I know it's not outside, but obviously our weight room inside, it needs massive attention. I think we can leave that at that. All right, any questions?
When do you have to have a play clock, Glenn?
They don't have it on yet.
They haven't
Coach.
decided what
It's
you-
not, I mean, they're talking about getting it in, but they have not put a time stamp on that. It's beneficial for our guys, and you know as well as anybody, when you're trying to milk a game and you gotta watch the guy in the back put his hand up. I mean, overall, just for managing things is nice when you're trying to get, now we try to get them in pretty quickly, but there's always times, and you've seen it with the 49ers on.
You're tired of doing the math, are you?
Yeah, I'm not right all the time.
Any other questions for Terry?
What is that goalpost, what did it say for a price range?
There's quite a bit difference,
Okay.
depending on the height.
Approximate? I can't see it from here.
6,000.
Six-ish?
There's bumpers on the supports now though, right? Of the current.
Yes,
Okay.
there he is, there he is, there he is. So if you go anywhere, we would also, there'd be concrete in that as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's for the pair. 6,000 for pair.
Yeah, that's for the pair.
And Terry, when you mentioned equity, you're speaking in terms of equitable to other football programs, right? Versus between male
What?
sports and female sports? Right?
When I was talking equity, it was more about the turf. Or what else were you talking? Yeah, equity there and money-wise, I thought it's a value to our community. But I think the girls would use the turf as much as the boys, if that's what, they would use it. Obviously, we would share football in both soccer teams, and softball might benefit more than anybody. Baseball could probably throw on it and maybe take some infield, but softball could do almost everything on there. And that's the one I think that girls-wise maybe gets the biggest jump is because the softball can use it so much. Put a dome up. The softball games all winter. How long do I got?
Okay.
I think,
I'll second that one.
Shepherd's coming off the stage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments on that? Okay, moving along, we have baseball up next.
Hello, everyone. I am Ryan Meadfeld. I would have dressed nicer for if I knew I was going to be speaking, but I'm going to speak on behalf of all of us. This is my 6th year in this district. As a taxpayer, I love this community, and I have 2 young kids and I think all of us take pride in this community. Where also as a teacher, I've been teaching for 23 years, and parents will come in for parent-teacher conferences, maybe pick up their kids from time to time, but essentially what we see when we drive by, when other communities come in, is the facilities that we play in or coach in. And if I get $5 or $5 million to upgrade, I could spend an hour and a half talking, I could spend for days talking about baseball. But I have 2 young kids that play multiple sports in all of their sections as well. And I just want, as me, I want to take pride in this community with all of our facilities. Doesn't matter what it is. And like I said, I could talk about my stuff individually, but I really just want to see La Crescent keep improving, where we get other kids and other families that's like, hey, I want to go to La Crescent. They have unbelievable facilities. I want to go play there. And I want to make a difference where us good coaches here could get them to play at the next level. Or I just want opportunities for kids too, where they like, hey, they're excited to go to practice, they're excited to compete. And it doesn't matter what sport it is, all the sports, because I have a son and a daughter and I'm not going anywhere. I love this community in my short time here. And I want to see improvements, whatever it is, in all of our sports. So that's one of the things that I wanted to put on record, first as a taxpayer, as a dad, as a coach, that yes, I need a new grandstand, even though Coach Horahan says that it could probably have 1,000 people sit in there and it's good for another 20 years. Even though Coach Hayes and Mr. Hughes said that we were surprised when it actually kind of passed quota. But one other thing that I was very excited about, and I promote this to all of my players, is to play multiple sports. The sidewalk that went in this fall with the help of those two guys I think is a great addition to our community. It's not just baseball, it's like to get it just liability wise for this district to get people in wheelchairs that I've seen bump on the grass and get pushed and get stuck, and trying to get old people, my grandma, to come to games without having to worry about it. And then they can use it for softball, and they can use it for the practice football field or the younger football games. And it's multi-purpose. And I just feel that we just need to keep improving. I don't care if we all get a little bit, we all get a lot, but we need to keep improving. And that goes even for indoor stuff too. I know it's an exterior, but the locker rooms. And I was frustrated when I voted yes for the referendum, the second one, and we got failed by 16 votes or whatever it was. It's like, oh, we were so close. And I would love to see just improvements everywhere. In the classroom, in the hallways, in the locker rooms, on our facilities. And just try to keep going, because these kids want more. The families, let's not have them go to West Salem and Unalaska or wherever they like decide to go. It's like, have them come here and stay here and build a family here. And my list is there, and I could keep going, but my 5 minutes is almost up. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that, and I would assume that the coaches here, because I've talked to them repeatedly about this, is that they're on the same boat as well. So I just want to thank you for your time. Whatever you decide, and if you need actual numbers, just like Coach Eric and Terry both said, like, we can get you numbers on like concession stands and press box and lights and whatever you feel. Once you do get a concrete number, we will do our work to promote our own sport and say, hey, this is what we really need, what we want. And if you can get it in your budget or in the referendum or whatever you're going to promote and get, we will do our job to keep working for our sport. Because ultimately, I want the best for my son and daughter. And if it's new facilities or whatever it is, I want to fight for my family, and I love this community, so I'm going to keep fighting for it. So thank you for your time.
Coach, are any of the items on your list, would you categorize those as health and safety?
The concession stand and the press box are both, and the grandstand. I mean, a strong breeze, I'm surprised hasn't blown it down. I guarantee that if somebody, I don't know the codes when it comes to food, but the concession stand's like a one-butt kitchen, and it's probably not up to code to whatever those codes would be. That would be a health and safety thing. I'm worried that if we do get 20 people up there, or 1,000 that Coach Horahan says, that it's gonna get hurt. It's an eyesore, but it's also potentially dangerous. Could it last 5 more years, 5 more weeks? I'm hoping that it gets through the season. I was told by the Weezer brothers that to take it down would be around $20,000 just to take it down because of all the electrical. If we were just to get it out of there, it's kind of like taking down a small house. I do have numbers with all of that stuff. I would love a bathroom facility, but once again, we could share it with football and soccer and everything else. I would love to host, and I think we would love to host state tournaments and bring in even more money for this community, get the publicity out there and get our, hey, nice fields, shown to everybody.
And Coach, if I could say, safety wise, I would say those fall very close to our press box in football, that grandstand. Would be in kind of that same boat. They're pretty shed.
Any questions from the board?
Your warning track would be a safety issue, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would, Coach Boyer always wanted a warning track, just so when you feel like when you're running full speed and you take 3 steps, just like the major leagues, you take 3 steps like, oh, this is not dirt or grass anymore. There's the dirt, and then pow, gets into running into a fence. Yes, that would be a safety issue. The parking lot, once again, we put in a nice sidewalk, but the parking lot is, we got lights, always have to yell and wave at people to turn off their lights at games because they're trying to stay warm, playing or watching baseball in April. So they're keeping their cars running the lights, and we're always trying to tell them to turn it off. And then it's like the parking lot is not good when it comes to, we got a nice sidewalk, but now you got to get to that sidewalk. So that'd be another safety issue. And eventually I would like to turn the JV field all the way around, so that we're not losing baseballs down over the hill and kids are trying to go get the baseballs and climb up that hill. So I mean, that could potentially be a safety issue as well. I would like to do side by side and then take advantage of a facility, a bathroom facility, or our new concession stand and put the home plate near Horahan's home plate. So there's a lot of things there, but go from there. I appreciate your time.
Any other questions?
Just FYI, between the last time we met and now, I've met with the city and talked about the bathroom facilities and what we were thinking about with having a standard location between all 3 of those fields for bathroom. One of the things that we're going to have to do if we move down that is we have to get before the city, and the city has to give us approval for additional sanitation that comes from there, because the city of La Crescent doesn't do their own sanitation. It goes over to La Crosse, and La Crosse will only allow us to send so much icky water and icky stuff over there. And so there's a whole bunch of different hoops that have to be jumped through here that I didn't know anything about. So,
In theory, it should be the same amount.
well, except they're porta potties now.
Well, for football, though, they have the indoor. Football and soccer.
Yeah, football and soccer do, but for
Yeah,
baseball
football.
and, so.
Yep.
And because there's more things that link in there, they keep that control. So I don't think it's impossible, I just think it's gonna be another hoop. And it's kind of like with, dugouts for the softball field. I also found out in that same conversation that the rooftop units for that, we have to go to the city and get a building, and, you have to be approved by the building commission or whatever, and get all the licenses for that. And they have to give them the okey-dokey. Supposedly that should be the contractor doing it. But we just have to, it's all of those, so I'm sure the press boxes will have to be the same way.
Oh,
and, so there's just all sorts of little things that are falling in there.
Okay, Coach Pache, you don't have a list, but I'd like to give you a chance to speak on behalf of soccer.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I'm just not gonna speak on behalf of soccer. I wanna thank you for inviting us to this. I've been here since 1992, and I've coached just south of 50 varsity seasons, and I've never been invited to a facilities meeting, and I just think this is great. I'd like to thank Coach Hayes for advocating for our school, our students, and everything he does, not just for all of our sports, but for our community. Again, I've gone through a lot of athletic directors, and he's doing a great job, in my opinion, and I think in all these guys' opinions too. As for needs, like I said, I've been here for a while, and I kind of make do with what I have. And it took me 13 years to change soccer shorts the last time we got new uniforms, so it's kinda like, I adapt to what we have, and, and we make do. It's more about the experience for me, for the kids, and making sure that they get a good experience for the season, and, these are all great, and if we can get a couple of them, I'm realistic, if we can get a couple of them, that'd be awesome. I know money's tough, and I know coaches don't get paid enough, or a lot, and if we get all these, we won't get paid anything. So, when I started, we were outside, at the outdoor hockey rink. So, and you can see where that's come, where that's gone to. But anyways, I'm not gonna talk long. My wife's waiting for me at home probably, so. But thank you for inviting us and giving us this forum, and I wanna thank all of you for the jobs that you guys do. It's not a fun job, and it's not a glorious job, and I know that, a lot of people, are on your side, and a lot of people aren't on your side, and it's, my brother is on the school board up in East Grand Forks, and I hear stories, but I know you're doing it for all the right reasons, and I appreciate that, so thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
So, we need the, new goals though, don't you? They are
Well, that's
really
cause and
great.
effect. If he gets
Right.
if football gets the uprates, then I will meet new goals.
Right.
Otherwise, how long will the nets that you currently have last?
Well, they just need to be fixed, and we're
Okay.
working on it, it's
Okay.
tough.
Yeah, those at some point soon should be replaced.
They broke in a different spot, with a week left to go in our season, and we had to jimmy rig it up for our last 3 games. With,
The coats were out on.
zip
the
ties,
field
not zip,
Saturday
no,
night.
I was gonna say, George is really good at.
We tried everything,
Yes.
and we finally
ratchet strapped it, yeah.
The post, the back post to the bar, and it stayed, and we got them put up.
Yeah, the funny
Now
part
it is fixed and welded, but at the same time, I don't ever wanna go through that.
No. The funny part is our nets are orange, and we used an orange ratchet strap, so you couldn't really tell.
Somehow Ryan's got 30 years' experience as an AD here.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what those portable nets would cost?
The portable nets? No, I'm sure they're a couple $1,000. I mean, we have, the ones we have for, at the JV field, or practice field, are, I don't know if they're ours or if they're the youth programs. I'm not sure if there was a deal made that they could practice at our field, if they gave us the nets, but every year it's like, oh, are the nets gonna be there? Where do we get the nets from? And, cause they've got a plethora of nets down at the north field. But some are big, some are little, and so, but no, I mean, I could, if it gets to it, we'd probably be getting the goalposts and the nets from the same vendor, wouldn't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for cost efficiency. But
And that
yeah, I would
covers
say a couple
girls and
$1,000.
boys
Yes.
Yeah. So that would cover girls and boys soccer.
Yeah.
So. Thank you. Any questions from the board? No? Any comments? Good? All right. Did you want to speak to the CJ list at all, Ryan, or?
Yeah, I can touch on that.
Okay.
So CJ, if you guys don't know Chris Johnson, I don't know what I would do without this guy. He is unbelievable, knows everything about everything. He was here doing what he does now when I was in high school, keeping stats. He knows everything about every sort of scoreboard and council possible. Supervises events for us. Just knows how it's done, and he's really good at it. And I'm so thankful to have him around. So I gave him an opportunity to share his thoughts, just because he's been around the block, he's been here for a long time, and I really respect the guy. His first thing was improve storage relevant to various activities department. I can speak to this in the building, outside of the building, we don't have enough storage for hardly anything. I know inside, the one room that we do use for athletics is jam-packed, full of things. Outside, we have a garage that plays as both a garage for our grounds guys, as well as we store all of our football stuff in there, and baseball. We don't have enough storage. Need a lot more storage. Replace the mat that protects the track surface. This is something we're looking at, the one that we have right now, and it's basically so that they lay a mat out, and when, say, the football players walk across, they're not damaging the track. The one we have right now is in tough shape. Examine improvements to the outdoor fencing. This one, I think he is speaking in regards to, say, for example, at a football game, when we try to lock up the outside gates to have everybody filter through the front, it's impossible for, say, me as a site supervisor. I could run around that fence for hours trying to tell kids to go to the front and pay, because they can slip in between any little gate, come over. We don't even have a gate down by where the new sidewalk is poured, so people can walk right in down there. And unless we have people literally sitting there patrolling it, there's just no way to have everybody come through the front where they're supposed to. Trophy cases, this is something that we're looking into, and I would like to see like a digital trophy case, so instead of having these trophies all over the school, and it just takes up too much space. There's a lot of trophies from a lot of years going way back. If we could somehow get that in a digital trophy case where somebody can walk up, they can hit the year that they wanna see, what year they graduated, click on it, see the section championships from that year, click on the football team. CJ has all of that at his house. Records, everything. He is a walking trophy case, like digital trophy case. So if we're gonna do that, we probably should do it while CJ's around, because he knows all of that and can put it right into that system. And I think it'd be really cool to have either outside at the facility or inside the school for people to walk up to and look at. And then the last one, I can't really speak to this one because I don't know a whole lot about track, but a second long triple jump runway. Apparently he said why one wasn't put in during the 1998 renovation was ridiculous. And that was all CJ had to share.
Any questions or comments on that? Okay, moving right along. I think Mindy and Pat are going to speak to the school building facility needs.
Yep, so if you take a look at what we have there, so, and I'm gonna, can you forward to the next picture first, and we'll go back to this one. Okay, I wanna reference this because this is the map of the current high school facility and where we have rooftop units or air handling units, etc. that are, and honestly, and Pat, I believe almost every one of them is currently at end of life, with the exception of the 2 middle school units.
Well, those are two, because those are 98, 99
Okay.
edition.
And the other ones that are in the high school are all the originals from the from the original construction, correct?
No, and some of those rooftop units, there's like 5 or 6 air hammer units that are actually original back to 1968. And they've been retrofitted since 68 to. But there has been rooftop units that have been replaced
Okay.
since 98, but they're still at the end of life, they're like 50 years old. So average end of life is about 15 years on a rooftop. So if they're not dead now, they will be dead soon. And the media center rooftop is rooftop 3, that's currently got a compressor that's out, and that needs repair this summer. And that's roughly 15 to 20,000,
Just the repair.
just repair.
And I asked Dana today to go through, or the past couple of days, to go through and find out what repairs have been. And what we found is on these rooftop units, the repairs have been increasingly more and more expensive. You know, the controls. And so as I look at this, and this isn't included in here because I got it towards the end. Starting back in 2021, we had chiller repairs that were right around $200 or $300. Then in 2022, another chiller repair that was about $2,500. And that's just to cobble them along right now. Because the chillers are well out of lifespan, and they are also, one is in error all the time and has to be reset every morning. And we have more that come through here where we've got thousands and thousands of dollars going into this all the time. The most recent repair that was done on, or the bill that came through today, was $4,244.87. So as we're going through with these, it's getting to be more and more expensive all along. And so we have to do some preventative maintenance there and start looking at. The other piece, and if you can go back to the slide you were on before, if you take a look at this, I asked them to break out each of the rooftop units and air handling units separately and give us what it would be out of two different pots of money. Now, the majority of these can be done with indoor air quality money. We have to take a look at that. That is something that we can just do as a board. We don't have to take that out to vote. However, you know, there will be some impact for taxpayers in this. The first blue option there is if we use long-term facilities maintenance and just replaced exactly what we have. So there would be no upgrades. We wouldn't be getting better units that would do more things. If we did the indoor air quality, which is the yellow column, that would be updating each of those units and potentially pulling both of the boilers into one room, so we'd have an extra area where the boiler came out of. It would be upgrading the chiller units. If you look at the one that talks about the gym, so it's third up from the bottom, high school gym, if you go over to the minimum and the maximum end of that, that would have dehumidifiers in that unit, which probably would improve the air quality in the gym, like the heat, okay? Because if we dehumidify the gym, the temperature will go down in there. So that's kind of what it looks like both ways across. The chillers on the bottom, the yellow there would be to replace the current chillers we have with something that would take care of the entire building. And so all of those all of the air handling units and the rooftop units would go through that chiller, which then would give what I call, poor man's air conditioning throughout the building over there, which makes it much more usable in different areas.
Quick question?
Yes.
So when you say that we'd just be replacing, the chillers and the rooftop units if we just did them with the blue, is it fair to say we could expect these units to be a little more efficient than their 15-year-old, what they're replacing?
Yep, they would be more efficient,
Okay.
but they might not get to the same end that we want. Like, I can guarantee you, we wouldn't have any improvement in the heat in the gym.
Well, but,
Yeah.
so is it possible we could do the yellow for the gym, but blue for the others?
We could do that.
Okay.
If we don't do, so what we have access to in indoor air quality is 3.8 mil, okay? If we took off rooftop unit 1 and rooftop unit 2, because those are the middle school ones that are doing reasonably well right now. And just left 3 through the end on there. That brings the total down to 3,542,345. And so that would be under the 3.8. And we would take care of all of those pieces. Now, one of the things I would like to check in with Ehlers and Amy on is if we do this and we will get a better deal on the bond if we do all the projects at once. But what would happen if we started phasing in the projects as we go? So maybe we do a third of it the first year, a third of it the second year, a third of it the third year. So that when we start getting to replacement cycles, we don't have to get into doing this all at once again. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to be really mindful about how do we do this and what does this look like? And that could possibly be accomplished, Eric, by doing what you're saying, do some of the blue area ones in certain areas that we know we're gonna replace sooner. And so that could be kind of the bouncing back and forth. I would not recommend using long-term facility maintenance money for that though. I would go with the indoor air quality because in the last go around, we've leveraged, like Eller said, about 38% of our long-term facilities maintenance over the next 15 years. And I'm really not comfortable going any further than that because if we have other things that go down, we don't have any backup to fix them. Pat, anything else on that one you want to comment to?
No.
Okay.
Mindy, I just have a question. I know that air conditioning in the gym is a big priority to the community. Is there anywhere, anything besides the dehumidifier, any other options for that?
That would have to come out of either our money, long-term facilities maintenance, because you cannot do any air conditioning with the IAQ money. Can't touch that. So we'd have to do the upgrade. And I don't even know if they'd cover the unit. I mean, they might not even cover the amount that we have here if we did that. So I'd have to look into that a little bit more. Looking at that, those are absolutely the health and safety need. I mean, we have to be able to heat our buildings. We have to be able to have our, we're not gonna have sports if we can't have the kids in school because the facilities won't heat up in the winter. So that's one of the things, but that's why I'm looking at what are these different funds. Couple of other things we have on the list, the main list from Ehlers, I only put the HVAC system pieces in here. But we also have parking lots on the list. We've got, obviously all the sports things on the list, etc. But in the Ehlers, so if you could move forward to the Ehlers. One more. So we're keeping that prioritization. If you take a look at this piece, and I added the numbers and I redid it because Ehlers didn't have time to redo the slide for us. What we're looking at here, and I'm just gonna stand up and do this. As we're looking across here, this is what the total of the project would be if we did it. Abatement is here, it's gonna be about 603,000 and some change for the parking lot abatements. Now that's another piece that we can do without going out to the taxpayers. We can just say this is what it'll cost. And then our facilities and maintenance IAQ comes up, we can go right about here, and this would be what we deposit, I'm sorry, this was 645, and then a mil, 1.5, or a mil, 150, okay. So as we're looking through here, that's what each of these are. This one was what it would be if we took it out of long-term facilities maintenance. But like I said, Amy and I recommend that we pull this off the table for any of these repairs. Oops. Obviously, there's a reason my mother didn't name me Grace. So going back here, so this is the primary scenario that was presented to us by Ehlers. and looking at maximizing facilities maintenance IAQ and the parking lot abatement. Now, that would handle a couple of things on the list. Ryan talked about parking lot at the ball field. That is included in there. We are also looking at all of the parking lots across the district, so that could be some rerouting of, you know, how the buses go, those type of things could all be handled during that time too. Which then leaves, as we go through, next slide, please. At a $3,800,000 bond, tax impact for a family in a residential home that is about $200,000. You can, well, you might be able to see it on your sheet better than you can up here. This got awfully small. But as you're looking at that, that's about $200,000 house is about $53 in tax impact. The other piece that we found out, so you can kind of review this, it shouldn't have the same impact on ag land, etc. I'm not gonna bore the board with that because we went through it with Ellers last time, but I'm more than willing to go through that with anyone that wants to hear it. But if you go to the next slide, the other thing we found out when Ellers did our presentation.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Cindy, on the 3.8? Are you saying that we can do that 3.8 without going to a referendum?
Yes,
Because it's in the abatement and the,
indoor air quality.
okay. So those don't need a referendum because it is kind of like
Because
things that the school
That's,
needs.
yep, that's authority that the state and the department has given the school system to make sure that we can keep things running. So along with long-term facilities maintenance, and the indoor air quality came up a few years ago, and as I've gone out to talk to people in, that work at Apex, who gave us this quote, and then also at Ellers, there's a whole mixed bag of how districts are choosing to use this. A lot of them that are in situations like we are, where everything is kind of end of life, are choosing to use way more of it than others. But there is that capacity there for us to do. And we
Is there a
don't
limit?
have to use it all either.
Is there a limit? Is it capped at what?
Yep, that's about what we have for tax impact bond.
3.8?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the board on that piece? Okay.
So now the other piece, if you go on to the next slide, this was interesting to me because I did not know this. When question 1 passed and we went out to do all of the things in question 1 to the school, we actually did not use all of our bonding authority. Okay, so the voters approved us for what would be an additional, you know, basically 103 mil, you know, getting close to 100. So we could go back out and rebond for that too, in addition to what we can do with the indoor air quality and abatement. Now, with this, the other thing, so we can do this, and Amy's been talking to Ellers, and they said that they can project this out so it really doesn't affect what current tax rate is at. So they can add this bond in there and project it out so it doesn't impact.
I think she had that slide when we were.
Yep, it's in the original Ellers one.
And we could use the remaining 1.375 for any facilities?
For moving things forward.
It wouldn't need to be things that would fall under the indoor air quality thing.
No.
It's for anything.
It can be for
Facilities.
Yep,
Would it
facilities.
have to go under what they voted on?
Yes, but it does have to go what they voted on. However, the wording to this is pretty general, and so I think we can make many things work.
So like
under
sites
this.
and facilities, I think a lot of what we're looking at is probably.
It's
generic.
Yeah, the betterment.
the betterment of the facilities, I mean, that language is really, you know, it's very fortunate for the district, being that the second one went down, because that gives us a broader spectrum that we can use on the first one.
And then we also have the additional 400,000.
Yes, that was in the budget that we had talked about at the beginning of the time that I was,
So that's what we talked about the first time
Mhm.
with the coaches, was that 400,000.
And how confident are we it's still 400,000?
I'm very
Okay.
confident, I had Amy check it the other day.
Good.
And so those are, I mean, those are some of the options we have here, and that's why it's important to get the priorities down. So the next, you know, as we look at that, one of the next things we can do, and we've kind of been talking about, and I put an example in here, just to kind of give coaches and board members ideas of how we can use, policy 905. The rewrite of policy 905 gives us the ability to get sponsors for things, okay? So I'll let you read, because I hate it when people read things to me. So you can read through it at your leisure, if you haven't already, but if we go on to the next one.
Can we go back just for 1 second before we move on to that? So, I'm interested in the board's thoughts because there are things that I would consider unfinished from construction. For example, window coverings in the elementary school, right? We have teachers hanging various types of curtains and it looks questionable from the outside. And that was a pretty significant cost, if I remember. Jeff got a cost estimate.
I wanna say it was
There was one that was about
43. I probably got the email, I can check it.
Yeah, so
They range from, I think, like 18 to 25,000 at least, and that was like with fast blinds, cheap blinds by whoever, you know, all that stuff, yeah.
And so I think there's things like that that we should consider as, is that unfinished construction? To me it is, but I'm interested in thoughts. Or the concession stand at the high school has no hot water. So you are not able to sufficiently sanitize or wash hands or wash dishes. And to me, that's something that should be part of a concession stand and
I think
the
that-
inside one.
Yeah, I think that the hot water for the hot chocolate is scalding hot, so we should be able to set something up there where there's a small, like, I think we could make an improvement to that for very low amount of money.
all the concessions workers have said there's no hot water there.
I checked it yesterday.
And there is hot water?
There's hot water.
Where the switches like.
I mean, last night, there wasn't.
I guess I was going to the left.
And what's the degree though, like what's hot? You know, like we need it at what, 173 or something like that to be able to.
You can't have it over 100.
Right, in a school, yeah, so I think that's kind of, yeah.
Are there other things that are kind of left over from the construction that didn't get included or addressed? Those are the two I'm most aware of.
Well, with the concession stand, there wasn't enough room to do a hand washing sink, right?
There is one,
There is a hand washing
Yeah,
sink?
but it's
So how many
just-
sinks are there?
there's one sink for everything.
But isn't there supposed to be a separate sink for the hand wash, and there wasn't enough room, so that's why it didn't get done?
I mean, all the other concession stands just have one,
Yeah,
like the soccer, football
I
one
don't
just
think
has one
concession
sink.
stands have
So you don't
that
have to have a
same-
separate hand washing?
That fall under that
Okay.
same code.
And
Okay.
I guess the hot water does work, it takes exceptionally long periods of time to get it hot, so you have to turn it on and let it run for a while, is what we were just talking about.
But we could put on a little spigot on one of the coffee machine or whatever, if there's something we can
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
on that, if we went that route.
Okay. All right.
To avoid kids from burning.
Thank you. $21,000, $30.
$21,000 to $30,000.
Oh, $21,000, $30,000 for blinds on all the elementary classrooms that need them.
Why didn't the classrooms get blinds put in them?
Cost. Right up front cost with the construction.
For 30 grand, we're like, no, we're not gonna do it. I don't remember that. I thought it was people didn't like that they had to use this, they wanted to get their own.
And there was a lot of natural light discussion at the time too, so the architects portrayed the natural light compared to district paying money for blinds. So there was discussion, I just can't remember the details, but it was, we didn't put the blinds on that, was turned down.
Well, I think that's more than fair to use the construction monies to pay for that.
Is there a list of things that were unfinished, do we know?
I can look for that.
Yeah.
If there is.
Those are
Maybe
the
we
The
can
only
punch
look at
list
that.
was completed, so there shouldn't, hypothetically, there shouldn't be anything left to be done, but.
One of the things that I know has been suggested now after having used some of the areas that were rebuilt, down in the shop area. Molten and Katz are requesting that we get some kind of a screen to go over those windows, because as the kids are using heavy equipment and saws and other things like that, other kids are banging on the windows and saying, woo-hoo, you know, and so, yeah, we're just waiting for a appendage to be cut. And so, you know, and the window clings that go across that might be logos for Lancer, that might be something that would be good. I know Jacob's talked about doing branding in the school and making sure that we see as we come through that, you know, this is Lancer country.
So there'd be vinyl graphics you're talking
So
about?
vinyl graphics, those would be things
So
that might
20
be.
grand to cover that?
But we could have Molten's class make those, right? They just got all that
I mean,
money.
it's not a lot of dollars, right?
Yeah,
And
but those are
wayfinding
just things to
signs,
throw out,
we
yeah.
need wayfinding signs in the,
Yes.
in the high school and middle school, because they come in and they don't know where the middle school gym is versus the high school gym, and they don't know where the bathrooms are. And so the wayfinding signs, but again, that could be something Molten's class could make with their,
Not a lot of dollars.
Do they have that
Actually,
3D printer? If they have that, they
Yep.
should be able to make those.
Yep.
Good idea.
So those are all things, but just kind of kicking them out so that we have notice, these are things we need. So that would be the remaining authority we have there. Yeah, so that's, Ellers would be able to structure this bond payments, there would be no additional tax burdens annually to taxpayers, and keep it within our repayment period. So that's another good piece of this. If we move down now, we're ready to, advertising policy, like I said, I'll let you guys read this on your own, but this gives us some options. This is one of the things that we started working on already, knowing that we have to get the shot clocks for next season in basketball. As April, Uriah and I met, we were talking about what would be an opportunity there. And so if you can move to the letter, April helped us by putting together a letter to business owners. Estimated cost for both of the scoreboards are $22,000. And so one of our first thoughts was to go out to Time Out and Sports Hub and say, if you would like a permanent sign right next to the shot clocks, we'll do that for you. It's a one-time cost of 11 grand, you know, or if you wanna buy both, we'll put your name next to both of them. Ends up being a write-off for the business and great PR, you know, great advertising, and also takes care of one of the needs for us. There could be other things that we could do that with too.
so just to clarify, the actual shop clocks aren't 22 grand.
Did we get more than one bid?
Well, Araya was explaining that because our scoreboards are so old, of course, new shop clocks aren't going to integrate with our super old scoreboards. So we actually need both new scoreboards and a shop clock that will integrate. And I don't know how many bids you.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple, but yeah, our current scoreboards are not compatible with the new shot clocks.
And then the back order, something too is
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah, so the new scoreboard, it would be new scoreboards, 2 new scoreboards, 2 new shot clocks, or that price.
In stock.
Yes, installed. I didn't think it, that's a good price. Comparably to the other one I got, that's a very good price. So stat panels are another,
No, those are terrible. You see Caledonia?
stat panels are pretty expensive.
It's
They're
so
another
busy.
$500.
It takes up like super busy.
So busy.
I like them too.
I like that.
But yeah, that would increase the cost. $12.30.
Coaches, did you have any comments or questions at this point?
I can make one to add to business. I agree that the two sports themed, businesses in town would be great starting points, but I've had a conversation, about a year ago with another business owner over in La Crosse that has a player in the program that would, probably help take care of that expense.
So we've given those two businesses until March first.
Talk to Brian Milson.
Yeah,
Perfect.
good
That's
thinking.
great.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we've given our local businesses until March first to reply, and if we don't hear from them, we will reach out to others.
And then if they don't,
But there's gonna be a lot of opportunities to sponsor things for businesses. And, you know, the school district is a 501c3, so businesses can look at that and consider that as well.
Is the football scoreboard compatible with shot clock?
Probably not. Why not, probably not, I don't know. That I don't know. Probably not compatible with our new video scoreboard either.
One thing at a
Is it compatible with the turf and the dome, you think?
Probably.
Yeah?
Do we have a cost on
That
turf?
turf is nice, the Casson Field.
For an idea?
$1 million.
Really? Wow.
Baseball or football?
What do we spend on
Do you want
the
it, Dave?
football field each year for maintenance and lines and all of the things?
Couple grand?
Well, more than that.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Paint alone's probably $5,000.
What does it cost
Yearly?
to have it every year?
The lines.
We have a robot do it, that's 2,800.
200 or so cans?
But then it saves about a week of labor to have the robot come down and do it, so that's why we've done the last 2 seasons.
And that's just
The
to start the
robot's
season.
$2,800.
Just to start the season.
The robot that comes to do the lines, because it takes them about a
So one
week
other
to do it.
question I had, in addition to the option to get sponsors, is there anything that are, I don't think it's still called this, but I'm gonna say it, because that's what I called it, the shop class? Like, are there anything on these lists from the coaches or the athletic facilities that we could have our shop class built? Or, you know, can they build steps, or like, is there any opportunity?
Storage shed.
Yeah, they built the one storage shed with the door, that has come out, but, maybe the next one, the doors could come out. You know, is there things that you know, cause they have that huge grant, right? So let's let them showcase what they make in that class, and is there anything on this list that they could help with?
What they could do, Doug?
Lay down the JV field, if we were able to switch and move the JV field,
Doing the construction tech class.
they could do the dugouts there.
You're gonna put a roof on the Eagle dugouts.
I mean, the Eagle field, right by the football field, those dugouts are in shambles, they're an embarrassment to the junior high. They could do dugouts there. We've made improvements to the Eagle 2 field, which I think was the old hockey era outside arena, but we could do dugouts there too. Currently, we don't have anything. I could keep going.
So I just say softball fields only have one field with dugouts, so we have an equity issue there.
Well, we're working on that, the youth group's working on dugouts, both at Avnet, and we talked about it on Eagle Field as well, so there's some things in the hopper there that
Okay.
will be taking place this year yet. Maybe not complete equity between.
But to go back to your original question, we could find jobs for them, storage sheds, dugouts, press box, whatever.
That's-
Yeah, I gotta get that.
I know, I was joking with that one.
Or the mark on? I mean, the wayfinding signs, it can be so easy.
Well, that, and then they can take pride in our too.
And see it.
They
Yeah.
can see it
They
being
can drive
used.
by, like my dad used to be like, I did that,
Yeah.
I built that garage.
Yep.
They can put their logo on it and they'll advertise it.
When you talked about doing one boiler and opening up a spot where one is that a spot that could be used for some of the storage that is needed?
Pat, do you wanna touch that one?
Yeah, you could. It's just, I just don't know if it's gonna be doable to add another boiler to the current boiler plant. That's the discussion that when engineering gets involved, that's gonna be a big discussion because that's where all this chiller plant and there's a lot of engineering that's gonna get involved. So it's possible. It's not a big room. Right now, it's basically just holds 2 boilers and you have to, I'm not skinny, but I can't walk like this down both sides. I have to kind of go like this.
So it'd be negligible,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
storage space. Plus it'd be quite a ways away from any sporting.
Yeah. Maybe more for classrooms.
Is there any opportunity to use the courtyard space for anything else other than a chicken coop? Or, like, you wanna keep that open, you want to, is that a, like, sensitive topic?
I'm just gonna, I
Okay,
have
no
ideas
comment?
for that, that'll be terrific, but
Yeah.
I don't think I should make that public.
Well, we would love to hear that.
I'll
You can
relocate the rest
share
of
them
them.
offline.
Oh my
Right
God, holy
right next to
cow.
the gym, you can relocate. Yeah, it's just, there's relocation
I
possibilities.
feel like that's a wasted space, I really do, like, if we're not
That's
gonna
close to
let
the gym, you won't.
people go out there and, you know.
Possibility of putting a roof over it.
Yeah, I don't know what the drainage would be for a roof or anything, that would be another engineering thing
Some
to see.
thought, you know, the food,
And, I mean, the media center is huge, and I know we're doing some repurposing of it, but you know, can we fix up part of that for kind of the community space that we talked about, you know, the, like,
That's another one we should
hangouts
have.
spot for the students to collaborate and, you know, chill, other than going to the cafeteria. But could a portion of the media center be for storage, other than just computer storage? Possibly.
Put up a wall and easily,
Cause that's just a huge wasted space too, I think.
bookshelves become forward, the back of it could be storage. Boardroom.
Alright, any other comments, questions?
I've seen a list that involves like redoing the locker rooms and stuff, is that in this?
Well, it's just rooftop units.
This is just,
This is rooftop units, so that would be an ad that we put.
okay.
have we had anybody even look at prices for what it would cost to redo those locker rooms? 'Cause they're definitely not good.
And they have so much wasted space in that, nobody showers in them anymore, I guess I don't know about the boys, but the women's was, I've heard there's just stuff in the showers at this point, storage.
Or utilize, they're utilizing also like the stage on the gym, because nobody utilizes that. You utilize maybe the space between the stage and the locker rooms to create. I know they were talking about also doing a, robotics facility. I don't know what size, would that be a thing that they would house that? The roof is small there.
The actual robotics practice field has to be, it's not very big. It's about a 15-foot square, is what I looked up when I looked at practice fields. I've seen them be more rectangular and a little bit bigger, but that's kind of the minimum. And so, yeah, there would be, you know, all of these things are things that we need to kind of put out, and that's part of the next steps is, now we've got these identified, I've written down a bunch, I think Brittany and Beth would probably put down a bunch too, and, now it's kind of, okay, what does this cost, what do we need, and bring it back to board for priorities and, timelines. To other than the boiler. I think they're 40 months out now, or 40 weeks out.
Rooftops are definitely not happening this summer. They may have to the following summer. So we're about a month, year and a half before we can even start on rooftops.
And the longer we take to kind of make the decisions on this, the further out those installs go.
So it's kind of priority one.
Yeah.
And as a FIAD teacher, I would, as we teach inside and outside, I would highly recommend talking to your FIAD department. Too bad he left, but I would recommend telling, they're the experts when it comes to storage space. Not to mention us coaches, but if you really wanna know if kids are showering, or how much space, or what you can do, talk to your FIAD department, because they would know what is actually needed, and what can be done, or what can be salvaged or reused, that type of thing. So make sure you talk to them to, if you wanna figure out storage as part of the budget.
What was in the second part of the referendum, other than, do you remember?
Getting rid of the courtyard, putting a roof over it and making it like a commons area.
Okay.
That was my dream. Let's see what else. I think there was, building a big garage, storage stuff, and, I think, maybe even some ADA stuff for the baseball fields. So there was some athletics in there as well.
I think the locker rooms for what I heard.
Maybe, yeah, locker rooms and the bathrooms too, maybe.
Was getting rid of that stage,
Yes.
I believe
Yeah.
that was that question.
Yes, it was.
Where you redo the locker rooms and you take it right into the stage. To open that all up, there's a lot of space there that's not being utilized, that should be utilized for some of these things we're talking about.
Okay, so I just pulled up,
The stage used to be the weight room.
You can
Oh,
move-
yeah, there was a weight bench with some barbells up there, that's how we.
Boy, look how far.
Yeah.
So question 2 was, if school district question 1 is approved, shall the school board of independent school district number 300 of Crescent, Minnesota be authorized to issue general obligation school building bonds in amount not to exceed $5,645,000 for acquisition and betterment of school sites and facilities, including various district-wide deferred maintenance and site facility improvements, athletic facility improvements, and updates to the cafeteria and commons. So I'm voting yes on this ballot question, you're voting for a property tax increase. So that's the one that went down, it's pretty general. 2 was pretty general too, which is why I think we were able to update the cafeteria under question 1, because they were both so general.
Well, this is me.
Don't even.
Can you imagine how many conversations we had about that? I think there was a Finlander that bought it, and they were celebrating St. Ermo's Day.
Okay, so next up, I think, or we plan to have this as an agenda item for our regular board meeting in 2 weeks. I mean, will we be ready to vote on something by then? Like, we'll have a proposal.
How long do we think it'll take Apex?
Next week.
Do you think we'll have, we'll be ready to vote on something by the February board meeting? Or is there additional information that you'd all like to see?
So I just did an informal canvas.
Yeah.
And we could, yes.
I would like to pull the community. I feel like we could ask them what their priorities are. The simple survey I sent out.
For these things specifically, for the athletic things, or what are you thinking?
For example, in addition to the air quality. Kind of like the Houston one did.
Yeah. I do like what you said, did.
I
I
guess-
think we should try to vote for
the boiler stuff as soon as possible, because like you said, our lead time is so long. And I envision that's probably just gonna keep growing. So I think that's probably something we need to. And in order to get the best rate, what I would recommend is that we, look at, yes, we will approve to do the IAQ, which is that plus levy for the 1.3 and abatement. You know what I mean? So we know all of that, so then Ellers can bid that out as one package price. Because what's gonna happen then on the bonds is we're gonna get a considerably lower rate and probably a better time for prepayment.
And you said when we can look at that slide again.
Yeah.
And see how it impacts the tax.
Tax base, yeah. Like I said, 200,000, I think it's about $53 in additional taxes, which isn't too bad. The other one, they're telling me they can spread out and not have any impact. And so I just want that solidified before.
I like your idea. These are tools that the legislature gives us so we don't have to go out to vote. Well, you know, at the end of the day, it's for the betterment of kids, right? Safety and security, rooftop units, being able to heat and cool, that's a priority. And so I don't feel like we need to go out to the community to get their blessing to do the rooftop units and whatnot. I think we could vote for that very soon.
But if the 1.3 million isn't coming out of the 3.8, and we're using that for something else, that is what I would like to ask the community about.
What would you like to see us do? Yeah, if we separate that out, I think I could
Because these are different.
So can we plan to vote on the 3.8 at the February board meeting? Can we take, there's the 400,000 plus the 1.375. I do think we need to knock out, let's say 75,000 to cover the window coverings. And you probably figure out a couple other things that didn't get covered in construction. So basically 1.7. So we would survey from a facilities perspective, asking the community thoughts on how to spend the 1.7.
What direction?
Well, I'd like to see a more, like a list of how your priorities with
Yeah.
pricing next to that, so we kind of have an idea of what we're looking at for costs.
Well, and that's what I have talked to you, Ryan, about doing, is meeting individually with each of the coaches, getting some bids to begin with, then running by, you know, is this gooseneck whole, or is this net, what you're thinking of, you know, how does this
It doesn't
fit?
have to be exact numbers right at the gate, but at least if we can see, you know, are we looking at 800,000 right at the gate? Most likely, because a lot of this stuff is, you know, spending 25 to 75,000.
You know, I know lights on the softball field are probably gonna be easily 200,000 to 300,000.
It says 500,000.
Yeah, I think that's high. I think that's high, but.
I think the only downside to the survey is, are we then held to what the results of the survey are, right? So I think we wanna be clear that it's helping us inform, but they're not voting on,
Yeah,
you know.
a simple statement that the board still makes the final decision.
And a ranking system for them to.
The surveys are great, but people that take them might, you know, it'll skew how the results are depending on who takes it.
Well, and for the ball fields and
What,
whatnot,
yeah, right.
I'd still like to see us fundraise. I'm not in favor of doing a levy or anything for that. I think we can raise those monies ourselves. I'd like to see turf. I think that would benefit the soccer and the football and reduce our maintenance costs. You know, I'd like to think we could raise $3 million from the community. I mean, in one Sunday afternoon, we raised 40 grand at the hub back in 2017 or whatever it was. I don't know if any of you were there that day. Business owners, I mean, we've got some heavy hitters. Your Cloak and Dagger lacrosse guy, okay, keep his name up. And I mean, that no one's ever done that before. No one in this community has ever fundraised HARP that I've noticed. I might be wrong.
Well, we
am I
haven't
wrong?
been able to until now.
Huh?
I think we go with this and then fundraise to add to it.
Well, yeah,
Keep
well,
it-
the rooftop
keep it
units,
bigger.
this,
Yeah, that-
not the importance of, the actual student day-to-day stuff would be covered,
Yeah.
but, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, whatever you guys ultimately, the board decides, just make sure you obviously promote it, communicate it well with, the community, because I've heard that it wasn't necessarily communicated with the second part or whatever as best as they possibly can, and I'm not bashing you, whatever, from whoever it was on the board prior. I'm just saying that, just make sure you communicate it and get it out there, don't have any secrets as a taxpayer. I just want honesty, if it's a survey or if you're going to do a big fundraiser, just have everything laid out to the best of your knowledge. And one thing, I was like, you could use like Boyer's name, I mean, he's been well known, and so I was trying to figure out a way to put up Boyer's bleachers in place of the grandstand to get people to, oh, this is going to Boyer's name, then they throw out more money for him, because he was known not just in our community, but everywhere, so I was, one thing that, because Horahan's already got his name on the field, so I was trying to think of ways to honor Coach Boyer. So then that would be a way, that, you know, just those kind of things, communicating with the community. If that was a decision that we can ultimately fundraise for and improve.
Well, in the 3.8, you know, I'm still not convinced that we should do all yellow. I mean, we could make that stretch a little further.
But there's only so many things you can do with indoor air quality. I mean,
Yeah, no, I understand.
So that's, you know.
The blue
This
is
and
out,
this
yeah,
are
too.
Oh. Alright.
Because if it's blue, it's coming out of the long-term facilities, right? So that cuts into the 400,000.
But why are the prices so different?
Because the blue is simply replacing exactly the units we have. The yellow is upgrading to something that might be more functional and more efficient for indoor air quality, et cetera.
And so we would not be allowed to get the indoor air quality money if we are simply replacing what we have existing? Or,
I think we can use out of the indoor air quality pot for the less expensive ones.
Oh,
We can.
good.
Yeah.
so we can mix and
So we
match
can
these
mix and
prices
match
and
still
all
take
out
out
of their yellow
yes.
budget.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out, yes. Yep.
Like, if we're gonna do like replace one for one, we're not gonna be able to have like air and humidification throughout the whole building. It's just gonna put a Band-Aid on it. You're gonna have a new unit, right? It's gonna last another 10 years, but wherever you put that unit, you can't chill that area or dehumidify that area. So that yellow area shows basically it's dehumidification, that whole school will be dehumidified.
So
The
yellow's
ceiling
like an
tiles-
integrated system.
So it's out of
versus-
date now,
Yeah.
let alone in 2040.
Yes, for
So
sure.
the yellow is basically, is it dehumidified or chill?
Oh, it would be both.
It
Because you're pulling,
dehumidifiers, and we can hook it into the chiller for the
So
higher
we'll have
chiller
air
costs.
conditioning throughout the whole school.
well, it won't be air conditioned because you can't have,
Poor man's air conditioning.
it'll be similar to what we've got now, but the gym will be like the rest of the school. Yeah,
Sauna cooler kind of thing.
but better.
Yeah.
More efficient, okay.
And ceiling tiles won't be droopy throughout the whole building where it's humid and it'll be,
Not so smelly, it's gonna be musty.
yeah.
So,
Like at wrestling on Saturday.
That's good.
So would
when
you be
we-
able to reach out to Mary at Houston
Yeah.
and see what questions are on their survey? I clicked on it, but it makes you go through the whole,
okay.
ask what questions they ask, and then I'd be curious, what is their response? How many responses did they get? And then would you, Darcy, wanna work with Mindy on, like, proposed survey questions?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'd also like to know kind of number of responses and how you distribute it. What are, what multiple ways.
I saw it on their Facebook, but I don't sure.
If we could figure it out and figure out how that could go into the paper too. You know, have a link in the paper where if they go online, they can go here, or,
So I would like to try to come up with a date though, that we will have the survey done, closed, look at the input, and then decide how to spend the 1.7.
One more question on it though.
Yeah.
Cause Mindy had said we could cut off the yellow and leave the 2 middle school lines. Heck, is that still an option?
It is, but, you know, they're end of life too, so they're functional, they're functioning, it's just, how long do you wanna well, I guess, they're 22, 23 years old. They're part of the original middle school edition.
Which is finishing.
So they're right now 8 years past life.
And I suppose too, if we're looking at, it'll be probably a year to 2 years before it actually gets put in.
Yeah, and if we don't do that, they might even fail by then. I mean, it's quite possible.
So we get all the money right away, but then we do it in phases.
I wanna find out about that, that's what I want, that's what I'm
I would like to,
asking if we can do that.
If we do it in phases, that's we're not ending up with another $4 million due in
Exactly.
20 years.
yeah,
Plus
that's,
4 million plus down the line, because replacement costs go up.
So do you think we could do the survey, get the results back, review it, and then see how we wanna prioritize spending the 1.4? Cause I mean, that's what the coaches are gonna care about, right? And it's when are we gonna decide on that piece so they can start planning? And they'll know what fundraising they're gonna need to do too. What does fundraising need to cover versus what will the school cover?
I think they should be fundraising.
Regardless,
Fundraising,
yes,
yes.
absolutely.
cause even if we can knock off a couple of items on their list, it wouldn't be all of them.
Right.
Would March be too aggressive to try and have that, or April?
Yeah, I was
I think
thinking,
March
you know, we could get the survey stuff end of February, we could get the survey out, you should give people a month. So that would be March, compile the results. I'm thinking April board meeting.
I think sounds good.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a doable time.
So we'd like to vote and decide how to prioritize the 1.7 million by the April board meeting.
That's to prioritize it, but we'll be voting on whether we're gonna do it or not. Next meeting?
No, just the 3.8.
Next meeting will be the 3.8.
I thought we were gonna try to put them together so we get a better bond.
That's the recommendation. Just, you know.
And then at that point, after we decide whether we want to do it or not, then we decide where.
And I could probably need to get a little more information anyway from Apex and Ellers about when they would put that out to bond and when we would order and what we would do. So if we can approve in February, yes, move ahead with this, the indoor air quality. And then potentially be ready if we've got the survey through for March to say, we're gonna move forward with this and we'll prioritize for the next one. And that would give me a dollar amount to go to Ellers with in March.
But I mean, we know we're gonna spend the money, right? So
We
should
just
we
gotta decide where, well,
should
Yeah.
we just
We-
vote in
Whether we
February
wanna do it or
for the
not.
full amount?
And then we
To
can
move forward
figure
with
out how
that,
to distribute
and
it
then
better.
we would, and then the April meeting, we would prioritize the spending of the money that we've already approved.
Of just the 1.7? or
1.7,
whatever.
yep, cause the 3.8 would go toward, we know we need those.
That's a great idea, April, because you can approve it, but you don't always have to spend it all.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like where we ended up with the 1.3 from the last one. We chose not to spend it, but we approved we could.
Is everyone okay with that plan?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, let's, coaches, good with that, April?
Sure.
Okay. Yep, Eric?
Off subject, or a different subject, with the advertising and marketing, I agree totally with the fundraising approach, we all should be doing that. What is the guidance, I guess, without going in depth into what the policy said there? Football Youth Association, softball boosters, baseball boosters, do we just go all on our own and start try to get things approved? Are we gonna do a uniform approach as a district? Where maybe we go to Quick Trip, let's throw them out there and ask for a large sum to put a sign on the softball outfield, baseball outfield, and around the football and the track.
So
Can we
I'm
discuss those approaches and how to do
not
that, or do we
very
each
familiar
individually approach
with
it?
all of our individual boosters, because we also have a just generic boosters, is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you guys all meet together? No.
There's a bunch of separate entities, that's what I'm getting at.
Right,
Are we all,
so-
is it Wild Wild West?
So who
or-
all made these separate entities, I guess, is what I'm
Well,
wondering.
baseball, and hockey, and is softball on their own?
Yeah.
And everybody else is kind of together with their own branch of it. Like if we raise money, we're in the, under the general one, but if we raise money, it can stay right to it.
Okay.
So, and I think to go to answer your question, from what I could find out from talking to Dana, et cetera, it's kind of been an evolution over the years that, and Beth probably can speak to this better, that, oh, we wanna do this, so we're gonna have a boosters here, then we're gonna have a boosters here, and it just kind of evolved, and without anyone really minding the store, it just kind of kept happening. We are trying to, we're trying to figure out how we make sure that there's some equitable treatment there. But to go to your question, Eric, if you look at, under the policy at, section 3F, the superintendent or delegate must pre-approve the sale of advertising space on school facilities related to boosters and other school-sponsored activities, fundraising, and money will be paid directly to the school district. Okay, so that's the answer to your question.
To put
I think,
signs
is
on
that
there.
To put signs on, to do all of that, it has to go through the district, myself, or whoever's in my seat, or the designee. And so that's how I think we keep that order to the chaos, so it's not just everywhere else. Plus, it will also, by having that layer in there, that will allow our accountants not to get crabby at us when we have audits at the end of the year, because that was the reason that I found out about all the booster clubs and
So at some point, we
activities.
probably have to come up with a schedule of what size signage you get.
What are
per
ideas,
dollar.
what does it look like,
Who's
single
approaching which
color,
businesses, so all three
multicolor?
of us aren't knocking on
Well, I think
Quick Trip store.
Try to probably speak to it best is the signage at the hockey arena.
Yeah.
Because like, our sign is gonna be such and such size for this much money, whereas
Yep.
the ones way up high that are the bigger ones were, what, 500 or something like that?
Yeah, $500.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
And having done that, do you bill them every year then? Is it
Bill
$500?
yearly,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
So it's a fee for a year, and if you choose not to, then you take the sign down. And probably the first year, I would say that the sign cost is included in that too. So the
I
cost,
think it was included in the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the same fee.
And then.
And we put it
Then
in
who
the
maintains that?
for us to come up with a process for what's
Just
just.
the booster?
Superintendent designate probably who takes care of most boosters or.
what's that?
The question is who maintains the signage?
Who at the end of the year goes and takes them down, or gets,
That's-
for hockey, just because they already do it?
Well, they stay up
Okay.
unless,
They don't
if
pay.
they don't pay their yearly fee,
Okay.
then at that point,
So the outdoor ones are all weather then?
what's that?
The outdoor ones would be all weather then, that we don't leave up year round?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yeah,
So you
no,
don't
we wouldn't
rebuild
wanna have to
them
do
every
that.
year?
What's that?
So if somebody bought last year and they want to buy again this year, you don't build a whole new one?
No.
No,
They,
no,
it's just, okay,
yeah, yeah,
that's less than.
yeah, one sign and it stays there for the entirety of however long they want it.
And at the same yearly fee, or if there's a percentage increase built into the, yeah, I've seen it done both ways. And to kind of go back to the question about the who and who's gonna put it up, take it down, all of those things. I just asked Beth to put on our admin team meeting for tomorrow to start looking at what the process would be and how it would look like from this end, so.
And to, partially answer your question, Darcy, for boosters, so like, softball boosters, for example, is for the Legion
softball boosters, speaking with us in particular, the booster club also runs in essence the Legion programs, which is our summer programs. So one of their arms of fundraising is to raise funds to fund the summer programs, but they also give money to the school program, like if they need another bat or a catcher's mitt or whatever it might be.
And do those
Assistant
summer
coaches' salaries, exactly.
programs-
Which we're very, very short on board, just so we, as we go forward on coaches' salaries, especially for football. That's gonna be one that it has to get addressed at some point, because that was a lot of our booster club money, because I think as our numbers got so low for so long, we're short a lot of big coaches, just that's something going forward.
Just kind of to let everyone know, coaches' salaries are part of the master teacher agreement. And so in order to get any increase or change in coaches' salaries, it has to be approved by all of the
I'm
teachers.
not even the salary, we're just short positions.
Okay,
That got eliminated when our numbers got so crappy, I believe.
Yes.
So we're short really 4 positions that every other school in our
and that's what you.
district would have.
I have the data on that, yes.
But I just wanted to make sure.
But nobody expected our football program to go from
Yes.
45 to 100.
I think April did.
Or yeah, we need to.
I had full confidence once we got
You
here.
were right.
I just wanted to make sure the salary piece was addressed.
No, and I was more because of the positions that got eliminated, so that's some of the stuff that we have to raise money for right now that other schools don't, so it's a challenge.
Well, Terry, you did a really great job.
Well,
And
thanks,
I
we got a
just-
ways to go.
That is like part of what makes good sports programs though. You took what you had and you ran with it.
Yeah.
And it's about inclusion at all levels and organization and not so much the facilities, but making the most of what you have, and you did a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, anything, further for this agenda? I think we have a plan for going forward.
If you're done, I got one thing, it's more of a sales thing here, so. Speaking of fundraising, we got a really cool event that we're doing fundraising for our football program on April 8th, which is Easter weekend, which isn't great, but we are doing a comedy show here in town. We're bringing in a comedy team of like 5 comedians that are gonna do it at the event center. And we'll be getting this out here to sell tickets for it, but it should be kind of something different for a
Is it the
fundraiser.
Heart of Lacrosse? What's your group, comedy group?
Well, they're actually out of, it's my best friend from high school,
Oh, fun.
who lives, coming from Chicago. The guy actually set the home run record in 1988 and hit 25 home runs in a high school softball, or a high school baseball season, that got broke up years later. But they're coming up, it should be something different for a fundraiser, and it should be something that can be fun for everybody, so we'll get it out, and anybody that can help support us is great.
Awesome. And we have baseball and softball bash coming up on
Yeah,
November
love
11th,
it, yeah.
so.
Great.
Yep.
Move to
Okay,
adjourn.